called hell. Is that what you're saying?
People that are unprepared, yes. It's not an allegory or metaphor, it's a place, just like Christ said it was, and he talked more about it than he did about heaven, talked more about hell. He thought it was something important.
Okay, step back one more. Is it objective for you, as a person collecting this data, to draw that conclusion?
For me to, yes. I believe that that's exactly where he would have gone.
You folks agree?
See this? What religion are they? You can't tell. They're family. No matter what religion they are, when they die, just because they don't believe in Jesus Christ, as you say,
how do you
they're
know
going
where
to
they
hell?
go?
I don't know.
Well, we're
but you don't know
them.
either.
Yes,
Can't
we
you
do.
accept that there is one God and that these people have loved
No.
them? Look at it.
There is one God, but
How do you
he's
know
not,
what religion these other people
God
are?
is
You
all
don't
and
know.
all is God,
but you can see the love between the
because in
mother and the
reincarnation
child.
I'd come
You can
back
see
as
it.
a
Oh,
rock
look at
or a
this.
Let me slow it down here, and let's take, this brings up the question of the fact of, it's a very emotional question to say that this religion is correct over this one,
Right.
okay? Let's say that there are multitudes of religions out there, and a lot of people that are watching belong to each one of these or different ones of these,
Right.
and so on. So the question is maybe their ire is getting up at you as well. What I'm trying to get to, is there any criteria that you would bring to the religions of the world, or are religions out of bounds in terms of analyzation? Is it right or wrong to even say that one religion may be right and others may be wrong? If there is a criteria, what's the criteria that you would apply? You want to take a crack at that?
Yes, and first of all, I would like to say that she is forcing her religion on us. She says we're forcing ours on hers. See, people say, oh, we're all taking different roads to get to the same place. That is more narrow-minded and dogmatic than anything Jesus ever said. They're saying there's only one destination. No matter what you believe, no matter what you call it, no matter what you call God, no matter what you call whoever, you're all going to end up in the same place. I say that's very narrow-minded. Jesus wasn't that narrow-minded. He said there are two places, heaven and hell, and you take your choice. You're going to decide whether you go there. Now, what you're saying is, this man that had this hell experience, it really wasn't real.
I didn't say that.
No matter
I said, what about a 7-year-old that dies?
We're not, listen,
that
we
is
dealt,
not
June,
knows about Jesus Christ.
we dealt with 7-year-olds.
How can you say they're going to hell?
We didn't say that. We dealt with 7-year-olds.
We're talking about dying people.
We distinguished between children and adults, okay? We're talking about adults.
Well, how do you break that? What, because if they're raised one way and they die, you're going to say they're not going to heaven? They're not going to see God because they may be Jewish?
I think you have to look at this from the perspective of the central figure of a religion and the teachings of that religion. No other figure on earth has ever been like Jesus Christ, done what he did, or risen from the dead.
Are you setting a criteria now for analyzation
I'm
of religions?
setting a criteria, yes.
Your PhD was in comparative religions. If a guy says to you, says, Weldon, the fact is, hey, I grew up in this religion over here. That's what my mother and father believe, and the fact is, I think it's great. So why are you saying it's wrong?
For two reasons. Number one, Jesus Christ is the greatest authority on the area of religion, life after death, the nature of God that ever existed because of what he did.
But they say, but wait a minute, the fact is our religious leader is a good guy too.
I'm not discounting the fact that people are good and can do good things.
So how do you make a differentiation?
Because Jesus Christ, as an authority, only one person in human history is raised from the dead. That makes him an infallible authority. It proves the truth of what he taught, that he was actually God incarnate. Many people can claim to be a way shore to God or a revelation from God. Jesus Christ claimed he was God incarnate. Number two, you look at a religion's teachings. It's like Luther said, there are only two religions in the world when you boil everything down to the bottom, the religion of works and the religion of grace. All of the religions in the world teach a religion of works. Only Christianity, biblical Christianity, teaches a religion of grace, that you're saved by the love and mercy and grace of God, not as a result of anything good you can do. I know in my own heart there's no way I can be good enough to meet God's standards. If I'm not saved by grace, I'm not going to get saved.
John, you can't just make a bookkeeping entry in heaven because we have violated his justice. The debt had to be paid. That's what Jesus did that nobody else could do.
All right, welcome back. We're talking about clinical death experiences, near-death experiences, and what are the implications that we can draw? What do they tell us? Is there life after death? If so, what kind of life can we expect when we die? Should we fear death? And maybe, Howard, you wanted to jump in right at this spot, so let's do it. In terms of, you know, we've talked about, you've had an experience, and the question is your experience, should it be taken over by researchers like these folks over here and applied to the rest of the people? Or are you just a simple individual that's had an extraordinary deal? It's only true for you, not for anybody else.
I think one of the things that the researchers have done is they've tried to simplify, make square pegs fit in round holes and vice versa to fit their own worldview.
Explain.
In other words, they had different researchers like Moody and Ring and other people who are all respectable people, all had come to this with their own philosophy, their own worldview, and they've tried to make the near-death experience research has affected them, but they've also greatly shaped what that looks like to other people. The fact of the matter is, the people that I've dealt with that have had near-death experiences, almost all found them to be life-changing experiences that should have moved them towards God. Some of them were able to process the experience because of the people that helped them use that experience in a disciplined way to understand the way, the truth, and the life, ultimately. Other people got caught up in, to put it kindly, la-la land, a lot of like New Age hocus pocus, and ended up really messed up people. So my point is that the near-death experience would, it blows people's minds. It changes them. It opens up
Okay,
their heart.
well, let me bring it right there. The fact is you had a hell experience. The majority had good experiences. The fact is...
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, so the fact is that can you draw ultimate conclusions from your hell experience? Does that mean that other people are going to hell?
I am 100% certain that my experience was given to me so that I could warn other people, warn them of the consequences of their evil, warn them of the consequences of their unbelief or the rejection of their faith, and to tell them about the good news of a loving God.
There's another side to that story. He's got the bad. The good can be bad. Ronald Reagan, governor, before he became president, pardoned John Brown from the gas chamber for shooting a 14-year-old boy, killing him, which he didn't do. And when Reagan found out, he pardoned him, and he found the real story was the man wanted to, because he had read all these good experiences, go through the gas chamber so he could be reincarnated into a better life than this jail experience. So the good can be bad. All good is bad, and bad is obviously bad, and that bell curve is completely forgotten.
And my hellish experience was the best thing that ever happened to me in my life, because it finally woke me up. It was my great wake-up call to the truth.
Nancy, you're collecting all these experiences. If now that some of these bad experiences are coming out, the hellish experiences, if they even out and they become more and more and more, what conclusions as a researcher do you think it's proper to make? In other words, let's say it gets to be half and half here, okay? Would you put out a warning?
My position is, yes, there is data that doesn't quite fit into any of the boxes we've got available. You're not wrong in your conclusions about the need for salvation, the fact that desperately difficult, painful, hell-like things can happen at death. But I think it's more complicated than simply saying, okay, here is a proof text, and if you don't meet these criteria, you're out of the ballgame.
June, I would have to disagree with you in one sense,
Oh, I'm
and,
sure.
and that is that I really do think that in many cases it is a lot clearer.
See what you're missing. You all say, well, but they come back and they say there's no judgment, salvation for everybody, cupcakes all around. I don't know an experiencer who is as glib and sugar-coated as you are making it sound.
Oh gosh, so many of them no longer fear death at all, and yet they're not saved,
But
and
that
so there's a
doesn't-
reason to fear death.
But the fact that they,
In your own document here, Nancy, it says, "I'm not afraid of dying anymore, but it's real important to me to be alive." I mean, that's what you say. They're not afraid of dying. That was the primary lie of the serpent to Eve. There is no death. Don't worry about it.
you're giving me proof text again.
Right.
And what I'm asking